While I was preparing this speech for today, I looked over the topics of all the other presentations, and I noticed that cities and urban development is a very hot topic at this moment. For example, this morning we had a great talk of Tom Waube. He explained the complex and chaotic nature of urban development processes. And I really enjoyed it because I'm also working in the field of urban development, but more specifically in the field of public policy making. And one of the greatest things that I like about my work is that I receive a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails of people who have their own idea of their own perspective of how cities should develop in the coming future. For example, a few weeks ago, a woman and a citizen of Maastricht called me, and she only said that she had a great idea and that it had something to do with urban farming. So a few days later we sat together and we were talking, and she said that she wanted to create a place for organic food production and consumption. And it would be specifically for children and for students, but more general, a specific place for every citizen in Maastricht. So it would be a place for recreation, for education, but most of all it would be a place to raise awareness about the value of food of our society. So that's a great story, right? Well, the reason why I receive all these messages and these calls is because I work for the Maastricht Lab project, which is basically, I can best describe it as a real-life urban laboratory where we experiment with different projects within the city of Maastricht. And we are currently doing 8 different experiments, and we are doing this because we want to try to find out if we can develop our cities differently compared than we used to the last couple of decades. And while we are doing all these different projects, we are continuously encouraging people to come up with their own ideas and with their own perspectives of how this project should look like. So what we are experiencing in all those different projects that we do is that we see that there's a new type of society emerging. And this is a society where people take own initiative for projects that they care about, and they do not want to wait for official decision-making processes, politically or from the local government, but they simply want to do it right now. And we see this already happening because we see that people are producing their own energy. We see that people are maintaining public parks, and we also see that people are growing their own food, like the example I just showed. And this is a very powerful development, which we call the democracy of action. And what I want to do with you today is to share 3 fundamental characteristics of this democracy of action, and just show to you why I think this is a very powerful development and why it will also affect our ways of thinking about how the cities will develop in the coming future. So the first one is, most obviously, is that people are more willing to take action, which basically means that they want to stop talking, they want to stop waiting, and they want to start doing things right now. So they don't want to wait for official decision-making processes. So they want to do it right now, they want to take initiative, and what is very specific about these projects that people are undertaking is that they have a lot of self-organizing capacity in these projects. So what we see, for example, is that people can come up with their own organizational model. They can come up with their own financial means to realize the projects, and they can find partners on their own to realize it. And that's a really great development, I think. So taking action is the first one. The second one is that more and more people are willing to invest time and energy in projects that actually transcend their own self-interest. So these are projects that actually, most of the time, are related to the direct living environment. But we see that in a lot of these circumstances, we see that these projects also contribute to a collective purpose. So again, the example of the urban farming project is a great example of that. So the third one is what I think is a really interesting one, is that in a lot of these situations, people do not need local government to realize the project. And that is very interesting, because in the last decades we saw that we had a lot of situations where people basically go to the local government and tell them, well, we have a problem and we want you to fix it because you are our government and we pay taxes. And today we see that there's a shift going on. We see that people are not directly approaching local government, but they are doing it by themselves. They are taking their own responsibility, their own initiative for specific projects. Basically, whether you like it or not, local government. And that is a very interesting shift because we see that the relationship between citizens and the government is changing in that way, which will also affect the way that our democracy is functioning right now. So this democracy of action is a very powerful development within our society, and I know we are heading towards a population of 9 billion people, but here in the Netherlands we have a completely different situation because we have an aging population. Here in Limburg we even have a shrinking population, but we also have to deal with an economic crisis, and in a couple of years maybe also with the effects of climate change. And I think that this democracy of action can at least be a part of the solution for these problems. And it will be even more promising if we can make sure that the citizens and local government can work together on these societal challenges. So what I want to encourage you to do is this. If you have an idea that fits within those 3 criteria, that you are willing to take action, that it's about a project that actually transcends your own self-interest, and that you don't need necessarily local government to realize it, then please don't keep this idea to yourself. Please share it with others, with colleagues, with family, with friends, and find ambassadors for your own project. And even if you need help from the local government, please contact them as well, because they can help you out in a lot of the situations. But please do not keep them to yourself. Please share them, because I think that these are the ideas that are worth sharing in the next coming years. And I think that these are the ideas that will make the society of tomorrow a little bit better than the society of today. Thank you.
Tim van Wanrooij.